Families and friends gathered today for the Walk of Honor brick installation ceremony, an event that permanently recognizes the service of local veterans. The event is held on Memorial and Veterans Day weekends to permanently recognize veterans in downtown Marietta. Families, friends, and supporters can purchase an engraved brick to be placed on the Walk of Honor. Darren Sherlock, Executive Director of the Washington County Veterans Service Commission, noted the symbolism of the ceremony as the nation approaches its 250th anniversary.
This ceremony happens twice a year. It happens on Memorial Day weekend and Veterans Day weekend. And it's super important because we get a chance to honor veterans. And how we honor them is their family members, friends, acquaintances will etch their name or pay to have their name etched on a brick. And then we put their brick on the Walk of Honor to permanently give them the honor that they deserve. It is so important that we honor our veterans because the veterans wrote a blank check to secure our nation. And if we don't honor them and be appreciative of their blessing, then we won't have future generations of young men and women who are willing to stand up and defend us when that time comes. And believe me, there will always be a time where we need to be defended. And thank God that we've been blessed to have generation after generation of Americans to stand up and answer the call.
For those interested in purchasing a brick, Sherlock says information is available through the Armory Square Incorporated. He adds the cost is minimal and covers production of the brick. If someone misses the deadline for the next installation, the order can be placed for the following ceremony.